After UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi on Saturday night, questions arose surrounding many of the fighters on the card, with Islam now the undisputed lightweight champion and coming for Volk's P4P title, as well as TJ, Suga Sean, and Belal Muhammad also out. Plenty of talking points were raised. Today, we are discussing what's next for all these fighters and answering some of the big questions raised over the past weekend's card. Stay with us. First up, will the winner of Volk and Islam be crowned P4P number 1? Well, considering the fact that the Aussie featherweight king is already the pound-for-pound best, then it stands to reason that anyone who beats him should then take that mantle, right? Volkanovski is clearly the best fighter in the promotion right now and has never been beaten in the UFC. He is also the proud owner of a 21-fight win streak, which in MMA is largely unheard of. However, Makhachev himself is riding a pretty tasty win streak and has dispatched of his last 11 opponents in a row. And when you consider the fact he has just easily beaten Charles Oliveira, who many people considered to be the best lightweight on the planet before he came up against the Dagestani, then the argument just gets stronger that Volk and Makhachev are the two best in the promotion right now. Some people will claim that current middleweight king, Israel Adesanya, could possibly consider himself in the conversation, but given the lack of excitement in his last few fights, we're not sure his claims would be taken seriously. Of course, pound for pound doesn't necessarily mean most exciting, which Izzy could point to, but he does have that recent defeat to Jan on his record. If he makes a statement against Alex Pereira next month, however, then he could blow the P4P debate wide open again. Who is the current P4P king in your opinion? And who else do you think is in with a shout? Next up, could Sean O'Malley become champion in 2023? There is no doubt about the fact that Sean O'Malley is talented, but many people have suggested that a title shot and subsequent win could come a little too soon for O'Malley within the next year. He looked good against Jan, but also proved that he isn't completely unable to be attacked. There was also the suggestion that Petr Yan actually won the fight on Saturday. People throw the word robbery around far too often in MMA, but if Jan had gotten his hand raised on Saturday night, nobody would have questioned the decision. That said, O'Malley still has a lot of work to do to get to the top of the bantamweight division, and there are still a ton of killers in and around him. Of course, he currently occupies number 1 spot in the division, but he was previously beaten by number 4, Marlon Vera, who probably has a stronger claim than Sean at being next in line for a shot at Aljo. There is also the fearsome Georgian, Merab Dvalishvili, lurking around the upper echelons of the division. Considering the fact that Suga wasn't even in the top 10 before the first bell sounded against Jan, it probably isn't a wild suggestion to say that he should probably fight one more time before a title shot. If he gets past either Merab or Cheeto, then why not? We would probably suggest he fight Merab next, as we think Vera should be given a title shot. What do you guys think? We're talking TJ Dillashaw next. Stay with us. TJ Dillashaw came into Saturday night's bantamweight title fight clearly injured. His shoulder popped out of place in the first round, and his corner could be seen visibly forcing it back into its socket at the end of the round. However, the injury proved too much for the former champion, as he succumbed to Sterling's onslaught in the second and was stopped. After the fight, it turned out that Dillashaw and his team knew about the injury and had remained silent in the buildup, as TJ didn't want to let a title fight slip through his fingers. Dana White was asked in the post-fight press conference how the Athletic Commission missed the injury and allowed him to fight, with White replying there is no way they could have known if TJ and his team didn't tell them. Dillashaw came into the fight in tip-top condition and looked in great shape, as he always does. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't disclose the injury and his team don't speak out, it's ultimately on him if he gets seriously injured. The UFC and the Athletic Commission cannot be expected to hold fighters' hands. Of course, no one wants to see a fighter get injured, but at the same time, the competitor in him was never ever going to pull out of that bout? What did you make of the injury? Do you think he should have pulled out? Next up, will Dariush beat Muhammad to a title shot? For some reason, both of these guys are still criminally slept on in their respective lightweight and welterweight divisions. But after both men got the job done again on Saturday night, questions were instantly asked as to which one of these guys will finally get a shot at UFC gold. Of course, we know the UFC is far from a meritocracy, and fighters are continually rewarded for acting out. See Conor McGregor and John Jones. But this sort of thing will always hamper the careers of fighters like Muhammad and Dariush, who simply prefer to let their fighting do the talking as opposed to their mouths. The fact that we are only now speaking about the pair in relation to a title shot speaks volumes about how difficult it is for a fighter who doesn't have the star power of someone like McGregor. Dariush is riding an 8-fight win streak, whilst Muhammad is unbeaten in his last 9. But with Volk probably heading up to lightweight to challenge Makhachev next, and people like Charles Oliveira having only just had his own long win streak broken, it stands to reason that Belal Muhammad might be better placed than Dariush to see a title shot first. Of course, Dana will probably find a way to justify a Khamzat Chimaev title shot in the welterweight division, but make no mistake, Belal Muhammad deserves it more than the Chechen. Which one of these guys do you think will fight for UFC gold first? What about the ladies then? The biggest fight of the evening from the women's point of view was Katlyn Chookagian against Mana Fiorot in the flyweight division. This would almost certainly have been viewed as a title eliminator, which the French woman came through with flying colors. The Beast bagged a unanimous decision win against the former bantamweight and looked sharper everywhere. Her striking, which is undoubtedly the biggest part of her game, was much better than Chookagian's in every round. But questions will be asked as to whether or not she can outstrike current flyweight queen, Valentina Shevchenko. The current champ was last out against Taila Santos over the summer, and for the first time in a very long time, looked beatable. Whether Fiorot can take the blueprint laid out by Santos and incorporate that into her own game plan is yet to be seen. But if she can unleash some of the striking we know she clearly has, whilst also staying out of range of the deadly Kyrgyz, then Fiorot could just shock a few people. Of course, the fight is yet to be made, but pretty much everyone knows that it is the only fight to make in the women's flyweight division right now. What do you guys think? And finally, what's next for Petr Yan? Yan has had a difficult year or two, there's no doubt about it. The tough Russian was stripped of his title back in March 2021 after landing an illegal knee on Aljamain Sterling, gifting the New Yorker the title. He recovered to beat the durable Corey Sandhagen the following October, but has suffered 2 major setbacks this year. Back in April, he lost a razor-thin decision against Sterling in their rematch after almost a year of bad blood between the pair, before losing an even closer decision against O'Malley this past weekend. Of course, these 2 losses shouldn't define Yan, as he is still one of the best the division has to offer, but there are concerns that he might be a little one-dimensional. Rarely these days do fighters who just focus on one style, in Yan's case his striking, become champions, and most guys at the top of their divisions are solid everywhere. This possibly isn't the case for Yan, who was basically held down for 2 rounds against Sterling back in April. If he goes away and works on the aspects of his game which are a little lacking, such as his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, then he could easily prize the title back off whoever has it once he has made his adjustments. There is also the possibility of moving down to flyweight, as he certainly isn't the biggest bantamweight around. What do you guys think Yan should do next? As usual, thanks for dropping in on us today, and remember to tune in again next time when we will be discussing all sorts of other cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a big favor by liking and sharing today's video? Bye guys!